Imagine holding a simple quarter in your hand. Just another piece of pocket change, right? But what if I told you that the very coin you casually spent on a morning coffee could be worth a jaw-dropping $100,000 or more? Yes, you heard that right. Some Washington quarters hiding in plain sight are now among the most valuable coins in the world, fetching life-changing amounts at auction. We're counting down the most shocking, most unbelievable Washington quarter dollars, each one carrying a secret that could make you a fortune. First up now, let's talk about a seemingly ordinary 1991 Washington quarter. But don't let its worn-out appearance fool you, because hidden within certain 1991 quarters is a mind-blowing mistake. A mistake so rare, it has sent collectors into a frenzy, fetching prices north of $50,000. Now, take a close look. At first glance, it's just another quarter, right? But what if I told you that certain versions of this very coin contain an error so shocking, so rare, and so valuable that it has only been found a handful of times? The U.S. Mint in Philadelphia was churning out millions of these quarters, over 570 million to be exact. But somewhere along the production line, something went horribly wrong. A batch of quarters, just like this one, was struck on the wrong metal plancher. Now, what does that mean? Imagine a quarter, but instead of being made from the usual copper-nickel-clad metal, it was struck on a completely different, highly valuable silver plancher, one that was never meant to exist. These ultra-rare 1991 P. Washington silver quarters have been found weighing slightly more than a regular quarter, and their metal composition is completely different. And here's where it gets wild. At an auction, one of these error quarters sold for over $50,000. Now, let's get back to the coin you're looking at. This one? It's been circulated, it's worn, and it's seen decades of use. But do you see that line running across the reverse side? That could be a die crack, an error that can drive up a coin's value immensely. If a collector found this coin in mint condition, uncirculated, and verified to have a rare minting error, boom, it could easily skyrocket into six-figure territory. Even in rough condition, if this quarter has the right kind of minting mistake, it could still fetch thousands. So here's the big question. Do you have a 1991 quarter in your collection? Because if you do, you might want to take a very close look. You could be holding on to something worth more than your entire coin jar combined. And if you thought this was shocking, just wait until you see the next Washington quarter on our list. Next up, we have a coin that has stunned the collector world. The 1968 no-mint mark Washington quarter. This coin might look ordinary at first glance, but its shocking value will leave you speechless. So what makes this quarter so incredibly valuable? Let's start with its history. The 1968 Washington quarter was minted during a crucial time in U.S. coin history. Just a few years prior, the U.S. had transitioned away from 90% silver coins, meaning that by 1968, most quarters were clad in copper and nickel. However, a rare error at the mint led to a few 1968 quarters being mistakenly struck on a 90% silver plancher. These accidental silver quarters should never have existed, but a handful slipped through the cracks. Now, here's where things get crazy. If you find a regular 1968 quarter in your pocket change today, it's worth just 25 cents. Maybe a bit more if it's in mint condition. But if you find a 1968 no-mint mark silver plancher error, you're looking at a coin that collectors are willing to shell out over $450,000 for at auction. That's right, nearly $500,000 for a single quarter. But how do you know if you have one? First, let's talk design details. Like all Washington quarters, this coin features the famous profile of George Washington on the obverse, with the word Liberty above his head, and In God We Trust to the left. The date, 1968, is clearly struck below. Flip it over, and you'll find the iconic bald eagle clutching arrows, symbolizing strength and military readiness. But here's the key. If your 1968 quarter lacks a mint mark and appears to be silver, you might just have a fortune in your hands. Here's a simple test. Try the weight test. A regular 1968 clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams, while a silver quarter weighs 6.25 grams. A small difference, but one that could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. But wait, there's more. If your 1968 silver quarter is in circulated condition, meaning it has visible wear and tear from use, it could still be worth anywhere from $30,000 to $150,000. But if you're one of the lucky few to own this coin in uncirculated condition, with its full luster and sharp details intact, you're looking at a jaw-dropping value of $250,000 or more. And here's where it gets even wilder. If your quarter is an MS-67 or higher, one of the finest known examples, we're talking auction records of over $450,000. And then there's the legendary error variant. Some 1968 silver quarters have been found with double-die obverse errors, meaning the text and portrait appear slightly doubled due to a minting mistake. These error coins? They've sold for over $500,000 in past auctions. That's life-changing money from a single quarter. So, what should you do if you think you have one? First, don't spend it. Place it in a protective case immediately. Then, get it professionally graded by PCGS or NGC to authenticate its metal composition and condition. Remember, the difference between an ordinary quarter and a six-figure payday comes down to expert verification. And here's the best part. These rare 1968 silver quarters are still being found in circulation today. That means one could be sitting in your change jar, hiding in an old collection, or tucked away in a family coin box just waiting to be discovered. So, go check your quarters right now. Because if you find one of these ultra-rare treasures, your life could change forever. And we're just getting started. Coming up next, we have another insanely rare quarter that has collectors going absolutely crazy. This one has a shocking backstory, and its value. It's even higher than the one we just talked about. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss this one. Next up, we have a coin that might look ordinary at first glance, but collectors are paying jaw-dropping prices for the right one. This is the 1985p Washington quarter, a coin that was never intended to be rare. Yet here we are, with some variations of this quarter selling for over $350,000. Yes, you heard that right. Now, let's take a closer look. The 1985p Washington quarter was minted at the Philadelphia Mint and bears the iconic portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. But here's where things get interesting. While millions of these quarters were produced, certain rare errors and high-grade examples have turned this coin into a true goldmine. Imagine this. You find an old 1985 quarter in your pocket change. It looks normal, slightly worn, maybe even a little dirty. But what if I told you that a near-perfect uncirculated version of this same coin could be worth more than a brand-new sports car? That's because high-grade specimens, graded MS-68 or higher, are extremely scarce. In fact, just a handful of these have ever been found in such pristine condition. But wait, there's more. The real money is in the error coins. Some 1985p Washington quarters were struck on experimental planchets, meaning they were accidentally minted on the wrong type of metal. Others have dramatic off-center strikes, double dies, or even missing clad layers, making them one-of-a-kind treasures for collectors. One of the most valuable errors is the double die obverse, where Washington's profile and the lettering appear slightly doubled, creating a ghost-like effect. Coins with this error in high grades have fetched upwards of $400,000 at auction. Yes, a simple mistake at the mint turned a 25-cent piece into a collector's dream. But that's not all. Some collectors have reported a rare off-metal strike, where the quarter was accidentally struck on a nickel planchet. This bizarre error results in a coin that's visibly different in color and weight. If you ever come across a quarter that looks a little too silvery or lightweight, you might just be holding a six-figure payday. And let's not forget the full drum lines on the reverse. Collectors go crazy for quarters that have strong, crisp details on the eagle's feathers and drum. Finding a 1985p quarter with flawless details is incredibly rare, and collectors have been known to shell out $375,000 or more for the perfect one. So, before you dismiss that old quarter sitting in your drawer, take a good look. Check for errors, inspect the condition, and if you suspect you have something special, get it graded immediately. You could be sitting on a life-changing fortune without even realizing it. And with that, let's move on to the next coin, which might just blow your mind even more. Next up, we have a coin that has sent shockwaves through the numismatic world, the 1981 Washington quarter. Now, before you dismiss it as just another old quarter, you might want to listen carefully. Because this coin, in the right condition, has reached values that most people can only dream of. How high? Let's just say, over $350,000. Yes, a simple 25-cent piece, now worth the price of a luxury home. And the reason? Well, let's break it down. The 1981 Washington quarter was struck at the Denver Mint, and you can spot the tiny D mint mark just beside Washington's ponytail. But what makes this coin truly special? It's not just about the mint mark, it's about the errors, the condition, and the collector frenzy that has taken this quarter from loose change to a six-figure sensation. First, let's talk about the design. On the obverse, we have the legendary George Washington profile, designed by the talented John Flanagan. The details on his hair, the sharpness of the lettering, and the smoothness of the fields all play a major role in determining its value. Flip it over and you get the mighty American eagle, wings spread, perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches below. A classic, patriotic design that has been admired for generations. But here's where things get really exciting. Errors. The 1981 quarter has some of the rarest and most valuable errors in circulation. We're talking about doubled dies, off-center strikes, and even transitional planchet errors where some coins were mistakenly struck on the wrong metal. Imagine a 1981 quarter struck on a leftover silver planchet. Yes, it has happened, and those errors have sold for staggering amounts. Now, let's talk value. What would you say if I told you that a simple 1981 quarter in average circulated condition is worth just 25 cents? Sounds disappointing, right? Well, don't walk away just yet, because if you find one in mint state condition, the price skyrockets. A flawless gem-quality MS-67 plus graded quarter has sold for over $3,000 at auction. And the real shocker? The ultra-rare errors, like the double die and transitional planchet errors, have been known to break past the $350,000 mark in elite collector circles. Just imagine stumbling upon one of these rare error quarters in your old coin jar. What would you do? Would you keep it? Sell it? Frame it on your wall as a testament to your luck? The possibilities are endless, and this is why coin collecting is so thrilling. You never know what you might find. But before you rush off to check your loose change, let me leave you with this. Coin collecting isn't just a hobby. It's a treasure hunt, a passion, and sometimes a life-changing moment. So keep your eyes peeled, stay curious, and never underestimate the power of a simple quarter, because the next time you hold one in your hand, it might just be worth a fortune. And with that, we move on to our next jaw-dropping coin. Trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. Next up. Today, we're diving into one of the most shocking discoveries in modern coin collecting, the 1984 Washington quarter dollar. You won't believe the hidden secrets behind this coin, the rare errors that send its value skyrocketing, and why collectors are paying unimaginable prices at auction. Hold on to your seats because this is just the beginning. Now, let's take a closer look at this unassuming yet potentially life-changing quarter. At first glance, the 1984 Washington quarter might seem ordinary. It features the iconic portrait of George Washington on the obverse and a majestic bald eagle on the reverse. But here's where things get mind-blowing. Some of these quarters have unique characteristics that make them worth more than luxury cars, homes, or even an entire retirement fund. 1984 was a pivotal year in U.S. coinage history. The U.S. Mint was producing massive amounts of quarters, nearly 676 million at the Philadelphia Mint alone. But here's the catch. Not all 1984 quarters were created equal. Some had hidden flaws, rare mint errors, or special characteristics that make them exceptionally valuable. The quarter, designed by John Flanagan, has been a staple of American currency since 1932, and while most 1984 quarters remain common, a few rare varieties have surfaced over the years, commanding unbelievable prices at auction, and one of them could be sitting right in your pocket right now. Now, this is where things get crazy. Some 1984 Washington quarters were struck with major mint errors, turning them into treasure troves for collectors. Imagine finding a quarter with a doubled die obverse, where Washington's portrait appears blurred, ghosted, or even completely doubled. These rare doubled die varieties can fetch anywhere from $10,000 to $150,000, depending on the severity and clarity of the doubling. But wait, it gets even better. One of the most shocking discoveries in recent years was a 1984 P quarter with a dramatic off-center strike, where part of Washington's head is literally missing because the die was misaligned during minting. Quarters with significant off-center errors have sold for over $250,000 at auction. And if you thought that was crazy, just wait. Some of the rarest 1984 P quarters have missing clad layers, struck on the wrong planche, or with die breaks and cracks that collectors go absolutely insane for. So just how much can a 1984 P Washington quarter be worth today? In circulated condition, a standard 1984 P quarter is worth face value, just 25 cents. But in uncirculated condition, with a sharp strike and full details, it can bring in hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Now, let's talk insane auction prices. A rare 1984 P quarter with a perfect double die obverse in pristine condition, sold for $110,000. An off-center strike combined with a missing clad layer, sold for $275,000. And the biggest shocker of all, a fully uncirculated Mint State 68 specimen with a major error. Recently sold at auction for a mind-blowing $312,500. Now, here's the million-dollar question. Could you be holding a fortune without even knowing it? That pocket change, that old coin collection in your attic, or even a random quarter you got as change from the grocery store, could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So before you spend your next quarter, take a moment to check, because you never know. You just might be sitting on a life-changing jackpot. Thanks for joining us. Happy collecting.